Thanks for watching today. We're in January now, 2021, and we're in another lockdown. So getting out, doing any sort of camping, overnighters and such is a no-no at the moment. Now I'm researching myself, looking for where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do when allowed. And as part of that, sort of thinking back to when I first started getting into this, looking for sites and how to do things and such, and thought what might have been useful for me then. So what I'm going to do is run through 6 or 7 of the sites that I've camped at this year, sort of wild camping and stealth camping, and run through them in a bit more depth, and show sort of maps and give a bit of insight as to the sites I chose, why I chose them, and then obviously showing the sites with clips from videos that I made of them when I did them this year. So if you think that might be useful for you, then you're in the right place. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let's get into it. Okay, so this first place then I actually found on Google Maps. I was just looking for somewhere that was a good day's ride from where I live. It's on the coast, as you can see, near Weston-super-Mare and Brean. It's actually called Brean Down. I got out there. This structure you can see here, it's an old World War II, I don't know whether it was a gun emplacement or a lookout position. Yeah, so basically one of the ways I find places to go, new places, is just by looking on Google Maps for places that look like they might be interesting and such. Then I follow that up normally with a search for any YouTube videos I can find to get a better look at the place, any online blogs and that sort of thing. So this was the site. I chose it mainly for its location. It's an absolutely beautiful spot on a promontory out into the Bristol Channel. Lots of history here too, which is something else I like. There's this spot obviously where I chose to camp just in front of this, as you'll see shortly, which overlooks obviously the sea and an old Napoleonic fort as well. There's the fort, and that is where I chose to drop the tent in there. So yeah, so as I said, this was a place I'd not been and just found on Google Maps, which is a great way of doing initial sort of research if you're looking for a site. It was an overnight camp, I think about 30 miles from home, that's all. I did just manage to get the drone up. It was quite windy, so I didn't get a lot of opportunity, but this just does show obviously the spot a little bit better. Yeah, I had a beautiful day there, beautiful weather. There's the sunset setting. That was fantastic to go to bed to and to wake up to that view in the morning. Absolutely beautiful. That's the camera set up to do a time lapse on the sunset there. There's the tent. It's MSR Hubber one-man tent, which is what I use for most of my camping. I also have an old Decathlon 2-man tent, which you'll see on 1 or 2 of these. So yeah, there you go. That's the first site there. So that was something I just chose from Google Maps. Right, just to point out, the blue splodge, if you like, on the map there points out where I actually camped. This one was Tenerife, in the mountains. I'll let the video itself talk a little bit about this one. Right, so tonight's stealth camp, I don't know if you can see down there, a couple of cars moving. That's the road. I sort of found a bit of a pathway that came up
through the woods to this track. Little bit of a track, which I then followed up, and that's me. Found a little bit of flat ground, which is not easy around here, and it's tucked in this little dip, so it can't really be seen from either side. Not that there's going to be anybody much out here tonight, but yeah, this is my spot. Beautiful spot. It was lovely with the sun shining earlier. That'll be the view from my porch in the morning. All sorted. I've already eaten. Bike tucks under there. The bag there, that's attached to the bike, just a bit of extra security. And the tent, I'll show that on another video, the full setup. But that's me, waiting to do a bit of stargazing, a bit of reading, and no doubt an early night.
So this video was part of a week or so I spent touring Tenerife. The island of Tenerife, if you're familiar with that, belongs to Spain, the Canary Islands. And this camp was the first night out from a youth hostel, and just basically towards the end of the day found the spot in the woods to camp. There's the full series of that, if you're interested, is on obviously on my channel, so if you want to see more about it, take a look there. But yeah, beautiful spot in the woods, absolutely loved it. Great night. Yeah, not a lot more I can say about that one really, just a great woodland camp. Right, so this camp is actually at the side of an official campsite, but not one that takes tents. This was part of a 2-day trip with a mate of mine, and we couldn't actually find anywhere to camp officially, so we had to stealth camp. The site, as you can see there, it's right at the side of the road, and as we come into this video now, that's Steve's tent there. Not very stealthy, but there we go. And to the left there is a hedgerow to the woods. These few trees that were in there were sort of at the side of the site that we're on, so we just pitched in between the two. So just a good little stealth site there. It was raining quite heavily when we arrived, but we tucked in there, and this was a case of needing to find somewhere basically. We didn't get bothered at all in the night. Very little traffic on the road, didn't bother us. This is Hornsey. In Yorkshire on the coast there. It's actually the end of the Transpennine Trail, which we then followed from this point going back. The second night of the camp was here, which is at the side of what's called the Sword Greenway, which runs from York pretty much to Selby. It's a great path to follow if you're ever in that part of the world. There's the actual cycle path. We were very close to the end of it, and again wondering what we were going to do. We found 1 or 2 spots in some woods along there where we could have stayed, but didn't look ideal. And again, by the time we found this place, it was getting dark, and then we found this gate just off the end. So we decided to take a look and see what was through there, and this is what we found. A pretty perfect little spot really. There's the 2 tents. There's Steve again. You can see there's a picnic table there. So the grass is cut nice and short. It's nice and private, away from the houses, away from the track. We did see a couple of dog walkers early in the morning, but a perfect little stealth camp. These things do have an habit of turning up. It's surprising what you can find when you're in need of somewhere to pitch your tent for the night. So yeah, it's the second night, and that was a lovely little spot. Okay, so the next one was another, just one of those one night away from home ones. Seemed to be a lot of those this year with the lockdown rather than longer trips. And it's another one I found on Google Maps. There's the spot, and it's right at the side of an old ancient Britain hill fort. Again, that history tie-in, as I say, I love the history. If I can tie a bit of history in with a camp, I will do. So camped at the side of an ancient Britain hill fort in the Mendip Hills. There's the drone again, giving you a little bit of an idea of the location. Again, this was one sort of about 30 miles, I don't know if it was even that, away from home. Just sort of got out one morning, got myself there, and got the tent set up and had a brilliant night. And for the next one, we're staying with that theme of one night on a day's ride from home. The main purpose of this was there's again, I found it on Google Maps, Big Tree Grove, it said. What's that, thinks I. Do a little bit of research, and yeah, I think that's somewhere I could go. On this one, I'm going to let the video do the talking again.
Right, so I did say this camp was going to be a little bit different, and the title of the camp is a luxury wild camp. So let's see why it's a luxury camp. There we go. Now, those of you that's seen any of my other videos know I normally travel on the Brompton. So the first thing is, obviously, that's not the Brompton. That's a Giant Explorer e-bike. Several reasons why I've come on that. As I say, it's been very muddy and such, and the location of this would have been difficult with the Brompton. Not impossible, but difficult. But also, it's meant that I can bring more gear with me. So the first major change and major bit of luxury is I've got my old Decathlon tent. It's a two-man tent, so there's more room in there, and I think it's also a bit better for the winter. Not quite so much mesh, and the tent itself comes right down, or pretty much right down to the floor, as you can see, so that leaves me more room to relax. I brought my camping chair. It's a new addition. This is the first time I've used it, so yeah, I've got a bit of comfort there. I brought my wood burning stove and a fuel log to pop on that. Now obviously I'm in the woods, there's plenty of wood, but it really has been very, very wet, so I don't know how we'd go with the wood in the woods. Everything's going to be saturated, we've had so much rain. Yeah, so there's the fuel log for that, and then obviously there's the jet boil. I'm going to be having some steak, mushrooms and fried tomatoes for my evening meal, and tucked in there, curtain that, bottle of red, nice Merlot to go with the steak. So provided I don't get interrupted tonight, that's my plans for tonight. Somebody did just walk past with a dog, and believe it or not, they came up through this bit. There's no path or anything, but yeah, they did manage to find me. Hopefully nothing will come of that. It will be dark shortly anyway. It's just gone 4 now, so yeah, another half an hour and we'll start to be in darkness, and then I'll get the fire lit and have a coffee now. Yeah, then we'll get the fire lit and go from there.
Now this last one is one actually from 2 or 3 years ago, one I did with my son. A little bit of an out of the way place on the edge of the Peak District, but one of the less popular, less visited areas, if you like, between Sheffield and Barnsley. So yeah, the main reason I'm showing this is I just think it's just a beautiful little site. It's somewhere I saw many years ago, before I was sort of doing any of this, and seen this site and thought back then what a brilliant place it would be to camp. And when I say many years ago, I'm saying maybe 20 years between having that thought and then coming to this spot. It's a beautiful, beautiful spot by the river. There's a reservoir just down from the river. You're to the sort of To the left, as the direction I'm moving now, is just miles of moorlands out into the Peak District. To the right is woodland, and straight forward, if you kept going that way, you'd go join the what's the trail? The Pennine Way, and over towards Manchester and that way. So yeah, beautiful little pit site, and that was one, again, a different thing. As I say, something I saw years ago before I was doing this. And just always thought that I'd want to go back there and camp, so it was great to be able to do that. So yeah, that's the last of the sites. I hope you found that useful. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please have a look at any of the videos in more detail on the channel. Give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks very much for watching, and hope to see you again.